lot of folks listening here will be from the United States of America, and we're not the most aware bunch of anywhere outside of our own country. So folks know, of course, that you're from Ottawa, but they don't need you to tell them where that is. They can go Google image search that. They can go Google whatever. I would love to know from you, just from where you grew up, your hometown, what parts of your environment do you think helped you become who Fred is today?
So my name is Fred Kung, and I am from Ottawa, Ontario. Ottawa is the capital of Canada, just like, and I compared to Washington, actually, it's a smaller version of Washington. Now, when I grew up here, it was a very non-cultural city as well. So I grew up feeling a little bit different from everyone all the time. So I think that forms a lot of who I am. Having grown up in that environment, I always wanted to be in the background. I never wanted to stand out. So it's funny that I'm in front of all these people all the time, contrary to what my life was all about before. And when you're on stage, something happens. You know, something takes over you, and you're thinking, who is this person? What did he just say? And it's all those things that come out of your mouth that would never have come out if I wasn't an instructor on stage. My background is not fitness. My background is accounting, sort of the typical stereotypical thing the Asian immigrant family would, make their kid go through. So yeah, when I was working in my background, my accounting, people would say, and I would never tell people that I was a fitness instructor, and they would look at me and they would say, "You're a fitness instructor?" And all the people in the clubs would say, "You're an accountant?" So, I sort of didn't fit anywhere, which is sort of how my life has been as well. I always felt different being in India, growing up in this environment. And the first year I traveled to Asia, everyone said, "Oh, you're not from here, are you? Where are you from?" Because I had the features, but they knew right away that I wasn't, born where, in Hong Kong or China, whatever like that.
Yeah, I'm hearing that, and I'm hearing the straddling of lots of different dichotomies. So for example, you say, I may have features of someone from a different country, and then I'm growing up in a place that doesn't feel as, culturally diverse. And so there's difference there. You're straddling two careers, fitness and accounting. When you think about that right now, as you're reflecting, what's the feeling that comes to your heart? I know you mentioned it's feeling different or feeling like you want to be in the background.
Just a lot of just accepting who I am. And it goes a lot for, being an Asian society, growing up in this Asian society, which is very conservative. And, my background, my partner, I had a partner before that was hard for me for a family to accept. And I was afraid to say that as well. So a lot of that has just come out. Just, you got to accept. And people, it's my own fear that held me back a lot. And when I was willing to open up to people and share, then I realized, that it's much more accepting than I thought it was. I was putting these limitations on myself really a lot.
That really resonates with me. It pulls me back to actually graduate school. I had a professor who was queer, and she would always say to me, the people that care don't matter, and the people that matter don't care. It's about finding your people. And I think hearing just that brevity of your story so far about finding the ways to self-acceptance through the different things that you do, and then the people that you surround yourself with, as well as having a partner that's a great support. It's a challenging thing, and it's nothing that people seeing you right now is like, oh, he did it in like a year. It's like a lifelong journey.
And it still continues on and on as well. Always learning, always going on.
That makes me think back to like who you were as a young person. So humor me with this one. Let's say that we're watching the autobiography of your life, and the credit scene's open. What is the narrator saying about young Fred?
Here's a little shy boy who just hides in the background. This is sort of like RuPaul right now. This is what it feels like.
Let me hold up the picture.
That picture of me right there, yeah. Yeah.
What would you tell 3-year-old Fred?
Yes. Yeah. It's like, accept who you are. Here's a young boy who went through life and started accepting and realizing who he was. And there's this quote that's always there in my back of my mind: who are we to be small? You got to be big. And that's what I've sort of learned is like, humility is there. You also got to accept you're good as well.
I used to be a high school Spanish teacher. You observe children a lot in adolescence as they're coming into their own, and you see yourself in them oftentimes. Oh, I remember that feeling. I remember that awkwardness of like not knowing what shoes to wear with this trendy shirt that you didn't even like and want to wear to begin with. You see them
Yes.
trying to forge their friendships or relationships. In my case, like trying to talk to girls and get them to like me. But just, I'm sure other observers were like, oh man, like you'll come to it one day and understand what's happening here. But it's hard to watch from other people with your self-actualization. Are there people that woke you up?
I don't think it was really any one person. I think it was more everyone saying these things, you're really good at that or this and that. And it's like really accepting that I'm allowed to feel that way. That I am good. My partner was really good in that. And he's always seeing the good in people and always expressing that as well. So that helped me along quite a bit.
Yeah.
I went to school not sharing a lot about myself and having achieved all these things in school. I never shared that with them until one day my parents came to my graduation ceremony. They're like, what do you mean you're class president? What do you mean you're doing this? And I never shared that with them. So I learned that I had to share more.
Wanting to do well, but not make it every single thing a big deal. I so
Right.
relate with that because it feels self-gratuitous almost. Like,
Yes.
I really admire people that can sit there and like really celebrate their wins outwardly. And it's almost like when someone gives you a compliment, right? It's
Right.
like, thanks. It's like
Yes,
it's an automatic, like, let's move on. I want to close the book. I don't want to think
That's
about
right.
that.
And that's what I learned to do as well, is say, oh yeah, thank you for saying that. That really means a lot to me. And
Yeah.
just acknowledging that as well. Whereas before I wouldn't acknowledge it as well. I changed the subject right away.
Yes. When you don't acknowledge it in that way or thank someone for it, no matter what it was, it's like rejecting an actual physical gift. Like if someone was giving you a
Right.
package and you said no or threw it away in front of their faces, even if you don't believe that thing about yourself, unless it's something like horribly disgusting that's like a backhanded compliment, then take your slapping hand out and do what you need to do. But so I think about fitness and this straddling. So we know about your life in accounting and probably mathematics and really logical thinking. But then we look at the other side of the fence, which is fitness. And fitness, of course, is logical. Fitness has technical aspects. It's got lots of science, duh. But the work that you're doing is very expressive. The work that we're doing is people work. What moment did fitness particularly become your friend?
Well, I've always been very involved with fitness from team sports. All through high school, I played volleyball. I was involved in track and field and all that as well. But now coming into this group experience, group fitness environment, it was so different in that I got to touch so many more lines, actually to make a bigger contribution as well to the bigger population. As much as we say, we do this for the participants. We love seeing how they develop and how they get more fit and how they come out smiling. It also makes us feel good as well. And again, we have a hard time admitting that. And we do some of that for us as well.
That's so cool. The parallel to team sports, right? Like taking like the outdoor aspect of that into a gym. It's such a common thread for so many of us listening. I imagine, dear listener, you have a related past in some kind of sport, or at least admiring some kind of team aspect of movement, whether it's dance or baseball or volleyball or football. When I think about the group fitness aspect of it, when you were younger, was there even a perception? Was group fitness on your radar? Did you have anyone in your family that did it? Did you see it on TV shows? What was young Fred's perception of group fitness?
Back then, not a lot. I mean, there were on television, you would see these shows, and I only realized that when I was growing up, my younger brother was very obese. He was told he had to lose weight. So I did not know this, and he admitted to us later on that he would every morning watch Richard Simmons, and he would work out to Richard Simmons, and he started losing weight. So, but back then we didn't have a lot of group fitness around it, and maybe it started more with aerobics, and then moved on from there. So my first experience is coming out of university and having played sports all the time. I lost that feeling of working out, and I joined a club, and they said, well, maybe you should try some classes. And I thought, well, okay, maybe I will. And the first class I did, I almost fell over the step. So
wow,
and that became a challenge for me. And the challenge is always something that's really drew me into something, the challenge of getting to a point and being good at it. I guess it's, part of my ADD is that I can't be on the treadmill. I don't like the Stairmaster. And this was just keeping me motivated all the time. The music and the movement came together. And that's when I realized what I really enjoyed. My first foray into group fitness was freestyle. I used to be a big freestyler.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, I jumped from freestyle to Les Mills, and it wasn't an easy transition for me because I had been presenting on the freestyle circuit as well.
Oh,
putting
cool.
in my own routines together. And, it's that mentality when you're a freestyler. It's my choreography. It's my this, my that. I knew exactly when I fell in love with Les Mills. It was the morning that I was teaching my class, and it was always packed. And I looked out, it was a track 4, Deborah Cox. And that was when I was still on VHS tapes. So, yeah.
Dear listener, if you don't know where that is, you can go Google VCR.
Yes.
You'll be surprised.
Yes, I think it was the early 2000s. And I just saw these smiles on everyone's face, and they're laughing and they're singing. And then they're coming to me after class and say, can you play this one next week? Can you play this one next week? And that's when I thought, you know what? It's not about me all the time. It's not about my choreography. It's about them taking out their Sunday morning, coming out for the hour away from their family, and they're coming to class and they're enjoying and they're loving themselves. And that's when I truly fell in love with BODYSTEP.
You've been a freestyle instructor. You'd found step, a love of step. You found Les Mills in this come time, but then you find yourself in a leadership role in Les Mills. So tell me a little bit about that integration. How did you come into doing more with Les Mills professionally?
I think it's just a natural process of evolving and where I wanted to go with it, and seeing how it impacted me, and then seeing people come through and seeing all the talent of a lot of people and wanting to help people get to another point as well. I don't know if you are familiar with Peg Cleland.
Okay.
She's the one who brought Les Mills to Canada in the first place with Body Pump, and just went from there. And
Oh, wow.
how she was a great leader to everyone as well. She did my stuff training as well. And I learned so much from her, and just from there, it just goes on. And how we touch lives. I just wanted to make that next step as well. So it's just trying to, help my team and help them find what works best for them, and then making them be the best version of themselves.
For those that don't know exactly what you do, would you tell us a little bit about your title and what that means in layman's terms? What do you do for Les Mills Canada?
So I'm a Les Mills training coordinator, which is like a head trainer as well. Having a team together, arranging schedules, helping them with trainings and modules and everything like that as well. And sort of seeing how Les Mills will advance in Canada at the same time, what programs you need to bring in, what works.
You've coached so many instructors and TAP team members. You've been on multiple masterclasses in different forms and variations too, which is so cool, which we'll talk about in a minute. Looking at your trajectory of your career so far, what moments have stood out for you as a coach in the sense of helping other instructors or TAP members be their ultimate selves?
Well, every time I see someone on video that is part of the Canadian team, it just hits right here. Peg was on some of the videos. Susie was first person under Bianco, who's on the BODYSTEP release, under who I helped come through as a trainer as well and presenter.
Wow.
Just seeing her on stage was just heartwarming. And then seeing other people come on like Ming and Kathleen and Melvin and BODYSTEP as well, and working with Julia and Cynthia in London. That's what it's all about for me right now. I think this is what the great thing about these releases are now, that back then there was only a handful of opportunities for people to go and be on a video. And now that we've had these global filmings, you see all this talent around the world, and you see these people come on the first time, and then you see them come on the second time. You see their journey as well, and that's really heartwarming to see how people learn, find a better version of themselves, and how they keep improving as well.
It is so exciting to hear a Canadian voice pop up, because you're like, oh, it's so funny because when you're surrounded by so much Kiwi accent and Australian accent, it really does stick out. And I imagine you absolutely love mixed strength from BODYSTEP 130.
Yes, awesome. I do. I love that whole release.
Oh, it was so good. I remember that was one of our favorite moments, because in rehearsals, Mark notoriously is very on top of his stuff. He knows what he wants. He has a vision. And for mixed strength, I mean, they were the one team that showed up, and they just, had very minimal notes, and you could tell how much pride Mark had in them. So I'm sure you feel that immense pride seeing them really rock it, because they're all such powerhouses. filming isn't everything, but it is really exciting because there's really nothing else like it in this industry.
Right.
It's the biggest stage that you can be on. There's cameras around, there's music, there's energy, thousands of people. When you think about like your first presenting opportunity, or it could be your first filming, is there a lesson you learned from that experience that you carry with you to this day?
I was in BODYATTACK 71, and that's when they were still filming in Studio One. So my first time there, I remember going there, I watched all the videos from BODYATTACK 50 to 71, and I would listen to everyone coach their tracks. I had a hard time for the first, and back then we were there 8 to 10 days in advance, teaching in Studio One and other studios as well. I realized I wasn't being me. And I remember Lisa saying to me, you know, we brought you here because of who you are. And I was trying to be everyone else and listening to everyone else's scripts rather than being myself. They didn't want me here because of me, not because, you know, I'm trying to emulate someone else. Just be yourself. And as soon as that happened, everything just clicked for me. And that was my biggest learning lesson. Just be yourself and have fun. And whenever, you know, my teammates go on stage, I just say to them, just have fun. Because when you have fun, the best version of you comes out.
And it goes by so quickly too. All the preparation stuff, you just have to trust it and let it come out.
Yes, exactly. After that release came out, I was the one who was, I'd be walking down the hall. I remember I was in NOLA the year after, and in the hotel, walking down the corridor, and someone yelled at, "Party in the corner." And that was one of my cues. So I became that guy who said, "Party in the corner" all the time. The first time you're there, it's just so, you know, everything just hits you. And I don't think I was able to enjoy everything completely. Because you're so just wanting to do your best. And I didn't get to enjoy Auckland itself and New Zealand itself. I just wanted to get the job done. I wanted to be the best. So that's one learning lesson. And when I went to BODYATTACK 100, it was, again, just have fun. Just enjoy yourself, because you get so involved mentally that you're not open to other things. That was a big difference between filming in 71 and 100, is that I made sure that I was mingling and mixing with all the other presenters who were there as well, and got to know everyone, whereas I was really focused on my scripting before and making sure my arm lines are so great, and you know, I was putting my toes and all that. So the technical work was there. The fun part of it wasn't there.
The freedom to be yourself comes after all those things can go below the surface, and what you show is purely Fred.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Canada gives us so many great talents like you, Susie, Dan. We'll include Amanda Scales in there too. That's fine. There's so many great others that come from the history, whether it's in Les Mills, whether it's in freestyle. I want to know if there's other people behind the scenes that inspired you in your earliest days with the company, in your freestyle career, maybe some of the names that have fallen off to history.
I was a big stepper. That was my first love. And there are people like Jeff Bagshaw, who was a big stepper. I went to New York City one day and attended the conference there. I remember seeing Mark there and Lisa there as well. And you know, that's what I thought. Oh, okay. So they go to these conferences as well. They do these freestyle classes as well. Those names, and I guess, you know, Mark and Lisa are always big there. Susan Renata, I love Susan Renata, Susan Tolley as well. They just brought different flavors to it. Emma Barry, I love, you know, how she was able to communicate with her you know, choice of words, her facial gestures and everything. So many people just hit for different reasons as well.
Have you ever been surprised by someone that you've been inspired by, knowing you or knowing something that you've done?
You know what? You know, one of my biggest learning moments was at a US summit, and I had some free time. I went to one of the body balance, body flow sessions, and just listened to Jackie coach give feedback to people. That was really inspiring to me. And I thought, if I could do that and I could help people, you know, become a better version of themselves as well, that would be phenomenal.
On the more granular level about instructors that you've trained, there's always some people that just kind of stick out in your mind, whether it was an obstacle they overcame, maybe they come from a circumstance where you really had to work hard on them and the fruit of your labor showed. Is there a particular instructor that sticks out for you, or a story from that instructor in your mind that resonates with you today?
There is one, and unfortunately she's not teaching Les Mills anymore, but I remember when she first came into training, Sandra M. She was so shy, sat in the corner and was to herself all the time. And you wonder if these people are right for the program, right for being a fitness instructor. She came back for another training later on, and I thought, I barely recognized her because she found something in herself, so animated, but she came back and, everything it was just such a phenomenal transition. How she found herself and she found her confidence in herself.
Hopefully Sandra will hear this and feel that inspiration.
Yes.
Sandra, come back
Yes.
anytime. We have some trainings to fill you in on.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. We try to overcomplicate our lives, and just, from a group fitness and training, they want to do so much. And, they don't hear the beat, the music, because they're coaching too much. They're speaking over the music. They don't hear the beat. The same thing I think in the accounting field is that take your time, step by step, before you get that point. It's like the 5 elements. It's a ladder. You cannot climb the ladder until you master that first step. And that's the same thing with accounting. Is like, come back to the base of the problem. Try not to hit that destination too fast. Analyze everything to get to that point.
Of all the people you've trained, all the changes our programs have gone through, what are some of the golden threads in your career that you noticed, that things maybe about yourself or about our industry that have stayed the same and you forecast to always staying the same?
When I first started with the Les Mills, it was always, your technique has to be solid. You got to point those toes. You got to lengthen the arms. And then it became your coaching has to be the compulsory cues. You've got to, say these things in this order. And then it's evolved now. You got to have fun. It's that connection. Because now we've gone from this studio to now this online environment, and you have to connect with the people beyond that camera. So it's all about the connection now and having fun and having that shine to the camera. So that's evolved in that way as well. And how Les Mills has also had their programs evolve to adjust to the changing, industry needs as well, and the trends in the industry.
BODYSTEP, the evolution of it, it can be hard at first, but ultimately we've seen this many times before of the ways that we have to adapt. And that's one of the reasons we stay above the curve, right? And lead the industry versus following a trend. What has been the response so far? What are the things that are working for you?
Coming from a freestyle background, anything that was more than 4 repetitions, the same thing, I used to get so bored that I would lose my focus. And now there's so many more repetitions in this functional step training. You really have to come into it and this is a different program now, and appreciate a different program. Once you let that happen, change is hard. Once you let that happen, you'll accept that change a little bit more. I accept it as just another type of workout that's going to meet the needs of your members. You're the one that's delivering it. You can still have fun in this program. And a lot of people aren't seeing that.
That's a great point, especially when we look at like the move versus the groove track, right? Like the move track is not meant to be a peak 3 watered down. It's meant to be a point of moving, bringing the cardio back up, bringing the heart rate back up, and you can still have fun. I just saw an instructor this past week that was teaching the groove version in her class, and the ways that we watched the Masterclass and how it's taught, Kayla does a great job. But the way that this instructor brought it alive and added flair to it and knew her members and was able to like play with the crown and stuff, it was a whole nother experience. And it was like, it was a great reminder to me of like, amongst change, there is that golden thread again of the essence of what we do. And when we bring ourselves alive through the programs, it's not about having a BODYSTEP instructor. It's about having Fred as your instructor. It's about Judson being your instructor and what they bring to people and their relationships and connection to make that program come alive. Because ultimately, as much as we want people to come to a BODYSTEP class because of BODYSTEP, people come because they love what you're able to make them feel.
Exactly. They're seeing the program through you, Judson, and it's seeing through me as Fred. And, we're the one who's going to make the difference in that in the end as well.
Well, BODYSTEP instructors, I hope you listen to that and you add some more crowns and flicks and whatever. Watch some Drag Race. There's great inspiration there. I don't really love the question of like, what's your legacy? Because there's so much left to do in our lives, and we never really achieve like the summit, right, of what we aspire to do, especially in fitness. It's a journey. When you think about, let's say I put this interview 10 years from now on the calendar, we're going to sit down and do this again. What do you think are some things you tell me about what you achieved or what you were starting to do last time we talked?
It always comes back to my participant class. If I can see one person leaving that room with a smile on their face and saying how they didn't think it was right for them and they had a great time and they're going to come back again, that is a success for me. Just touching that one life. You know, as much as the big stage can be, for me, it's always coming back to them.
I'm sure they feel and they love that. And that's why your classes are packed, Fred. And why you're going to have to save some spaces, because, I mean, now the masses from the States are going to come try to find you to take some body step.
That would be great. I think my message just to everyone is just have fun and enjoy. Because, you know, you never know what's going to happen. And you got to enjoy every moment that comes your way. And when you do that, everyone else is going to have fun as well.
Change the energy for someone, no matter how big or small. And hopefully in a positive direction. Unless you're slapping people around when they're giving you backhanded compliments.
Yeah.